Hey everyone, and welcome back to Real Management Talk with LJ and Jocelyn. I'm Jocelyn.
And I'm LJ.
And we're so happy that you've joined us. So we are, again, I'm not even sure, LJ's holding something up there.
We're hot like red lava.
Oh, like red lava. All right. And if you can see me, I'm in red again today, and I got my power blue hair, which kind of matches my wall. But anyways, so here we go. So, you know, LJ, I have something that I really want to talk about because this actually happened yesterday. So yesterday I was out and about going, what we would call marketing old school. Before we had all of this tech and everything, I was literally walking door to door talking to companies. But in particular, I was talking to bigger companies that are corporate contracts, that would be corporate contracts. And one in particular, and I was in particular targeting a certain industry that I won't say what the industry was right now, but I had some very successful meetings, and I walked in and asked if I could talk to the training, the person who handled the training for this particular industry. And it's not actually the HR department for this particular industry. And so in one of them, that particular person wasn't there, but I ended up talking with the business development person. So that was all good. Who gave me the name of that person, told me when they'd be back so I can follow up with them this week. The second one, I was able to talk to the actual general manager who handles that for this particular type of industry, and talk about the not only the event and type training that we're bringing to this area, but also about how we can, help them future. And oh, that's great. You mean this isn't the only time? Oh, you could bring it to us. And I actually got that from both of them. So the third place I go to, because it's getting kind of late in the day for this particular industry that I stop at here in town, I walk up and I'm talking with one of their people. And, I again asked very nicely, could you tell me, why? And this person literally looked at me and said, oh, we don't do training here. And my jaw just dropped open. I was like, what? I literally looked at him. I said, you're joking, right? He said, no, I'm not joking. We don't do training here. This person only owns this one place. We never have. They never have. So anyways, long story short, I was there for quite a while, and none of the salespeople, none of the managers would actually speak with me because they don't do training. And I thought about that and I was like, wow, what a disservice you are doing for the very people that are helping put food on your table, not just their tables, but your table. And so, I thought about it all day, and I was like, okay, LJ and I've got to talk about this because like, this is just not, I don't care what size company you are. That's just not acceptable. It's not acceptable that you won't allow yourself to train. And it's not acceptable that you, in this day and age, you won't empower your folks by just doing a little bit of training. Not, I get that companies sometimes have limited funds, although they say they have limited funds, but that's because of the decisions that they decide to make in their budgets. Let's be really clear about this, guy. And LJ's going to tell you, because she knows I'm on a rant about this, but this is the truth. Let's be really clear. You're limiting funds because you decided to limit those funds for this activity, but that's okay. You have the right to do that. I've never questioned that from a company as far as that. If you decide to do that, but you should also be encouraging your people to also invest in themselves, and occasionally demonstrating that by you investing in them.
That's a shame. It's actually extraordinarily disappointing because there's so many people in business. I'm not going to call them business owners because they're just people in business at that point. And a failing business, I should say, a business that won't be going far at all, that really don't place value on professional development, training, upskilling, retraining, planning. These are the organizations, the businesses that don't place enough value on planning. You know, they want to look busy and stay looking busy. But in reality, if you're actually working to create the future, you have to create the work of the future. If you're not taking the time to get trained, which means basically all training is, folks, is an opportunity for you to figure out what's going on in the industry that you're in. You know, it's an opportunity for you to figure out what's going on in industries, period, you know, all throughout the world. That way you figure out how to be more efficient, more effective at what you do, and how to really successfully scale whatever it is that you're doing so that you can become more sustainable in the future. If you're not valuing professional development and training opportunities, what you're effectively saying is that you're comfortable where you're at. And you're comfortable with realizing that you may not go further than where you are right now.
Mhm.
And that is unacceptable. That's business as usual. And as we know, as we talked about last year on our podcast, business as usual is dead, folks. Get with the times. You have got to be willing to get trained.
Yeah, that old train, it's gone. The new train, the horse, whatever. It's left the barn and it's galloping. And if you're not willing as a business to not just invest in your own people, but also to not change and learn new things, you may be in business, you may even be in business for another 10 or 15 years, but you're going to see it drop off every single year. And we're not talking about the kind of economic upheaval that's gone on in the last 18 months and the little bit of it that's probably still coming. But because those things happen, and for every business owner, those things, sometimes things really take off, sometimes there's a slight retraction, whatever. But we're talking about being able to also weather, especially if there's a slight retraction in whatever you're doing, due to things that are really not in your control. And, to really get through it, your team needs to know that they can depend on you. You need to know that you can depend on them. Clients need to know that they can depend on you. And by the way, they don't, what's a good example? Okay, so I'm dating myself, guys, but I grew up in the 80s, and yes, there are pictures of me with some of those lovely 80s fashions that look at now. It wasn't just the big hair, guys, but I think to myself, why in the world did we all think this was cool? But at any rate, here's the thing. Somebody doesn't want to show up to work with me and I'm stuck in the 80s. I mean, that's not going to get me. I might have managed to hold on for a long time, but if I don't figure out how to adapt to whatever new landscape is, and if I don't invest in my people, and I don't invest not just in the people who directly work for me, but in different colleagues and different collaborators and different, if I don't do that, where everything is going now, guys, we're in the tech age, the tech information age. That is the train that left last year in March of 2020. That is literally the train that left. That is the period of time. We're no longer in the industrial age. We are in the tech age, and business is different. And they're talking about, I guess, what everybody's done, the Great Resignation. Some of that is truthfully, there were going to be a lot of certain baby boomers who were starting to retire anyways. Some of them, I think, decided to retire earlier because all of a sudden, I think there's some parts of that. But I also know that, you know, I don't know about you, LJ, but like I'm seeing all kinds of articles starting to talk now about how, you know, the 40-hour work week, that whole thing that, you know, is the whole industry, that thing's dead. The way people work is different, but also what they expect in this idea that, well, people are just happy to have a paycheck, have benefits. Guys, let me, yeah, that's a big no, because if you look around what's happening right now, even really good companies with really good paychecks and really good benefits can't hire people.
Oh.
So that should be the big clue that that ain't it either. What people want is they want people that are going to treat them as the human being that they are, meet them to where they are. Now, don't get me wrong. In my book, that's not meaning that if somebody's truly not doing the job, they're truly not doing the job. That's a different thing you have to address, but invest in them. Make them feel a part of the company. Let them have some ownership, empower them. Your business will grow exponentially. And I don't care what kind of business it is. I don't care if it's a nonprofit, if it's a for-profit, if it's the, what do we call the Court B thing now? The, you know, they will all grow exponentially if you start investing in the right place. And that starts with the people.
Amen.
That's my rant.
It's brilliant and it's right on time. It's honestly right on time commentary because, you know, to your point, everybody's an entrepreneur now. You know, with the coronavirus pandemic, everybody had to go home and they had to think about ways to make money while they're home. You know, so gig work is a thing. The project economy, folks, is here. So if the project economy is here and you are looking to hire talent, you have to be able to offer them fringe benefits. And really a fringe benefit is going to be things like the promise of training, the promise of professional development, the promise that you will continue, you will be invested in here so that if you are a perpetual learner, you will get that itch of learning scratched. That's what it's about. You know,
Yeah.
we need people to be cognizant of the changes that are happening around them. You can't survive in a bubble. You just simply cannot survive in a bubble. It just doesn't work like that. You can try, but look around you. You know, we've got Congress kicking the can down the road for the debt ceiling. You know, it's just ridiculous. And now we're talking, you know, banks are talking about JP Morgan, Jamie Dimon came out and said, if, you know, they're planning for the worst case scenario. So the last time that this happened, what was that, 2011-ish, you know, they had to pay what, $100 million? It was $100 million in expenses on their part just to keep things afloat, just to, you know, keep with their obligations. So, you know, yet again, here we are in this, you know, highly political, highly polarized society where, you know, you look around globally, supply chain is an issue. People are paying extraordinary money for just shipping of different supplies and different products. So, I mean, we're in a different time now, folks. You cannot live in a bubble. If you try to live in a bubble, then your days are numbered. Bottom line, you've got to, you know, adapt. And adaptation is what we would say is preceded by training. Adaptation is preceded by perpetual learning. And you need that in a formal training opportunity. But again, with training, it's so much deeper than that, right? It's so much deeper. That's already deep on its own. But what you got to be thinking about is your obligation to the community that you live in. If there are other businesses that are providing services that your employees can take advantage of and that you can take advantage of, why would you not want to support that? To me, that doesn't make sense. If your business ecosystem is not growing and it's not thriving, then that means that you don't have customers. You don't have new customers that you're acquiring. You need to be able to constantly acquire new customers. You want to retain the ones you have, but you also want to remain competitive. And remaining competitive means that other people are attracted to do business with you. If you're not even thinking ahead and saying, oh, well, maybe this, you know, trainer is not what I need right now, but I'm going to still meet with that person because I want to get to know their other portfolio of services. Maybe I can support them in other ways. Maybe they can support me in other ways. if you're not even willing to have the conversation, if you completely close the door on opportunity to grow, then you're in a bubble. You're in an echo chamber, and that is where things go to die, not to survive and thrive. So that's, I'm very sad that you actually went through that, because in 2021, approaching 2022, that should not be an experience that you have as a business owner, walking into different businesses and saying, hey, I've got a product, I've got a service that I can provide to you. Let's partner. And they basically say, no, we're good. That's unacceptable.
Well, what really floored me, and we're going to take a break for our commercial break here in a second. So I will come back right after that and tell you what floored me about it.